How can you increase focus on your team? A lack of focus is costing your company thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions. You know, if there's one gift that I wish every team member had, it's the ability to know what to think about. Nothing will cost your company more than unproductive thinking. Now think about it. Every time that somebody in your company, a team member, spends time thinking about things that don't save the company money or make the company money, they're probably spending time about something that causes the company to stay flat or worse, decline. And then not only are they spending time thinking about things that are making the company decline, they're not spending time thinking about things that are making the company grow. And so you're not just causing the company to decline, your opportunity cost on the thinking is even higher because you're not moving forward. So how do we actually control to some degree, how do we rein in what people in our company are thinking about? Well, here's a plan that we implemented. I actually learned it from my friend Michael Hyatt. We actually have everybody in our company send to my execution team, my execution director. I have an execution director who's just the director of literally making sure things get done. That's an idea for you. That's a whole other video. But they turn into my execution director their big three goals that they have every week. What are the big three things that you're going to tackle this week? Everybody in my company has to turn in the three things that they have to get done this week. And what does that tell Tim, my execution director? It tells him, what are people focusing on? And that is a great little litmus test for Tim to be able to say, yeah, we're focusing on the right things. Not only that, but anybody who has to sit down and write down the big three things that they're focusing on this week is actually causing themselves to focus on important things. We can now edit if those things aren't important. We can go back and say, hey, two of these things are great. The third one is just not super important for you to think about. How can we restructure what you're thinking about so you're moving in the right direction? That alone, we saw, you know, when somebody steps on the gas in a car and you kind of pin back to your seat. When we actually implemented the big three, you could feel the company. There were a couple other reasons, but you could actually feel the company jolt forward when we did that. Why? Because, especially these modern companies, a lot of you are dealing with physical labor and making widgets and those kinds. But if you're dealing with intellectual stuff, you literally are selling the time that your team spends thinking. And the more productive their thinking is, the more value your customers are going to get. So we want super, super productive thinking. Here's a simple tip for you. Consider actually assigning to especially the principal members of your team. You might start with leadership. They turn into you the big three goals and priorities of the week. They turn into you every week, and you got to also pay attention to it, and you got to read it, and you got to give them feedback. You can't just turn it in and put it in a desk and not read it. Anybody who turns that in, you call them, you email them, you say, hey, this looks really good to me. I'm glad you're focused on these things. Or I like 2 and 3, not sure about number 1 here. So the simple tip for you is to assign the big three to your principal players and give them feedback. When that starts working well, have them assign the same assignment to their team members. Make it religious. I mean, they've got to write it down, they've got to turn it in. What are the big three goals for every team member this week? And you're going to rein in that unproductive thinking that is costing you an enormous amount of money.